Hi, you're with Julian on the Brown Note, and a companion piece. Is Anthony Albanese a super genius? I would have folded it into the last piece, but it is now 38 degrees. And I was actually pouring with sweat by the end of it. So following on from Anthony Albanese's pretty shocking attack on the rich 1%'s superannuation tax breaks, I was very anti Albanese through the campaign trail. I stand by virtually everything I said. Bill Shorten was a great man, and for him to actually stand up and say, I'm going to come after the rich people's tax breaks, their superannuation breaks, the franking credits and the negative gearing that has seen this, in Sydney at least, become, I think, the second most unaffordable housing in the world next to Hong Kong, destroying the way of life for many, and also ensuring a paradigm shift in the number one reason to go to work, which is to keep your wealth in your home and then be able to transfer it. Instead, we've got an enormous amount of people that will work their whole lives and give all of their money to people that benefited when things were fair, and they use that money, the increase in house prices, dramatic increase, where they all became millionaires despite not doing anything to get there beyond what any normal person would do. For Bill Shorten to have actually gone after that and the press unite against him. So the last piece was about how the press goes into bat for the 1%. Has Anthony Albanese found a way to do it? Has he found a way to drip feed this into the conversation in a manner that the press can't even deal with? And he is choosing a very good moment, because the press have never been weaker, and the politicians were always so spooked by anyone on Labour being seen to be left. So he was. I criticised him and said he needed to be removed because he was a terrible campaigner. Great man. I said that he'd probably be a great leader, but he was never going to get there. And never forget that he would never have got there. His campaigning was being squashed by Scott Morrison right up until Brittany Higgins landed on the media radar, and then he offed himself. The public hated Scott Morrison so much that he offed himself. It wasn't anything that Anthony Albanese did apart from stand still. So that's a worry when it comes to selling things. But has he found a method of getting this past this barrier that stops meaningful change? We never get Labour with meaningful change, ever. He could be the greatest leader in Australia in my lifetime. Some massive Australian bug out there. Glad I've got the door closed. I mean, look at in the UK, Jeremy Corbyn had fantastic raft of anti-neoliberal economic policies. He was destroyed by the left-wing media, who have made it the choice that they've made is to ensure that he is trampled into the dust. He's even been blocked from being a member of the Labour Party, from Keir Starmer's worst ever Labour Party. That's the Labour we get, the Murdoch-appointed Labour. Look at America with Bernie Sanders. Real, meaningful economic change. Coming after the welfare checks to the rich have been printing themselves for decades, ever since neoliberalism took over our economic policy. They never let these people get in. So either Anthony Albanese is very mildly dipping his toe into the water of what I expect from a Labour leader. Forget about lies, this is garbage. They never come after the Liberals for lies for anything. They would if the Liberals came after your superannuation tax breaks. Or has he got an overarching plan here over 2 terms to actually meaningfully tackle these things and right the ship? If you do, Anthony, I misjudged how intelligent a leader you were. And I think even if you haven't, think about doing so, because the time is right. We've got an entire generation of younger people that have been shut out of the system, and an awful lot of the people on their way up to being 60 shut out of the system, who will never be able to afford a home, and they will go to their deathbeds with nothing but what their parents left them. I think a lot of us in this country have moved on from any sort of Murdoch dominance. It was a real blip what happened with Scott Morrison, an unforgivable one, something I won't forgive most of the Australian news media for electing such an obvious lying hack and doing so just because Bill Shorten was going after your money or your boss's money. So I hope I was wrong about how intellectual you were as a leader. I did say you'd be a good leader. I just said you wouldn't get there, and you did need Scott Morrison to get you there. But if you've managed to go after franking credits and negative gearing on top of superannuation tax breaks by the end of your first term, I will find some hat to eat.